Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going over my final thoughts on Diablo 4's campaign and briefly touching on the game's seasonal model, including what was revealed during the developer livestream on July 6th and how I'll be approaching Season 1 once it rolls around. One quick note before we get started. The gameplay you'll be seeing is from the World Tier 2 Capstone Dungeon that you need to complete before unlocking World Tier 3. So if you haven't gotten around to doing that yet, I'd recommend switching this video to audio only or tabbing out so you don't have it spoiled for you, if you care about that sort of thing. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get into it. I finally wrapped up Diablo 4's main quest about a month after release. While the game doesn't display your playtime anywhere yet, hopefully this feature will be added in the future, I was able to find out how much I've played using a third-party site, D4 Armory, which lets you search your battle tag and track your playtime for each character. According to their stats, I wrapped up the campaign in just under 45 hours. Now, you may be thinking, holy shit, the campaign takes 45 hours to complete? If I had to guess, I'd say about 2/3 of my playtime was actually open world exploration, completing side quests, and tackling world events, strongholds, and dungeons. So the main quest itself should only clock in at around 15 hours. That's not a bad thing though. The story manages to be engaging without dragging on for too long, and while working through the campaign, you'll also branch out into the open world and explore new areas, providing plenty of opportunities to get lost in Sanctuary, which is exactly what happened to me. Now on to the story itself. I'm going to cover the main quest without any major spoilers, so don't worry about having plot points, character arcs, or other events ruined for you. However, if you really don't want to know anything at all about the main quest, feel free to skip ahead to the next section while I break this down. I can confidently say that Diablo 4's campaign is the best in the franchise, hands down. This isn't to say that past games haven't had engaging and entertaining storylines, because that simply isn't true. D2 and D3 both featured plots that were impactful and showcased memorable heroes, villains, and other characters in between. Shout out to my boys Deckard Cain and Tyrael in particular. The main difference between D4's campaign and those of past games is a much heavier focus on in-game storytelling and plot progression. While quests in past games would feature some light story components, the main focus was almost always on the activities and loot tied to those quests, or often progressing through the story as quickly as possible just to reach the endgame grind. Here in D4, Blizzard has done an excellent job of crafting a robust single-player experience, offering players an engaging, emotional, and impactful story that can be enjoyed purely on its own, while existing within the looter framework of a Diablo game. The characters you meet, places you visit, and set-piece encounters you fight through are all some of the best we've seen from this franchise. I still have fond memories of fighting across Mount Arreat in Diablo 2, and D4 does that sequence justice and more with its story-based gameplay. Lorath, whose voice actor, Ralph Ineson, puts on a wonderful performance, is more than a worthy successor to your mentor in previous games, Deckard Cain. The supporting cast of heroes and villains is also exceptional. You'll team up with conflicted allies, who must struggle to overcome their past trauma while fighting to protect Sanctuary, and face down multi-layered villains, whose motives are either unclear or so perfectly righteous from their perspective that at times you almost feel compelled to join them. The second half of the campaign stood out in particular, raising the stakes of your battle with Lilith at every turn, taking you to new and interesting locales, which are also some of the coolest we've seen in a Diablo game, and frantically upping the pace until you find yourself quite literally racing to defeat Lilith before it's too late. Acts 5 and 6 were both absolute highlights for me, with an intense build-up to a climactic final showdown, featuring some returning enemies along the way that veterans of the series will both be enthused and terrified to face down once more. As I raced towards the main quest's conclusion, I was actually reminded of Mass Effect 3's ending, a final showdown in the ruins of a city under siege, beset on all sides by deadly enemies and surrounded by a loyal band of allies you've recruited over the course of your character's story. And that alone is reason enough to recommend the campaign. Lilith is a fearsome opponent throughout the entire story, and her voice actor, Caroline Faber, does an exceptional job of bringing Sanctuary's mother to life. She is charismatic, even charming at times, and is so committed to her vision that it's easy to see how many of the characters you meet, even heroes from ages past, were so easily swayed to her banner. Lilith's power as a master manipulator is on full display throughout the main quest, and she seems to outsmart you at every turn up until your final confrontation. Even as the story comes to a close, she still stands by her convictions without a second thought, and you might find yourself wondering whether you and your allies engineered the best outcome for Sanctuary once all is said and done. The story's resolution also manages to put a bow on the game's vanilla plot with a satisfying ending, while also setting up future storylines and leaving just enough unanswered questions without the feeling of a painful cliffhanger. You're hit with just the right amount of mystery and intrigue to leave you on the edge of your seat in anticipation of what's to come, and I for one am quite excited to see where the game takes you next. And then again, this is Diablo, so is any character's story ever really over? Now more than ever, Diablo 4 is an easy recommendation for players who might want to play through the main story and only dabble in the side quests, open world, and endgame afterwards. The game's base campaign offers an enjoyable adventure, memorable characters, and addictive gameplay that I thoroughly enjoyed, and is the best evolution of the storytelling formula we've seen from the franchise so far. With the main story wrapped up and the endgame grind in full swing, many players will now be turning their attention to the game's first season, releasing on July 20th. In their pre-season livestream on July 6th, Blizzard took a deep dive into the type of content that Season 1, and each season after, by extension, will include, such as new aspects and unique items, new story content and enemies, seasonal gameplay bonuses, the Battle Pass, and, of course, more balance patches and quality of life updates. Officially revealed as Season of the Malignant, D4's first seasonal content drop will revolve around an infection spreading across Sanctuary, creating new mutated monstrosities for us to defeat. Your main quest giver for the season will be Cormund, a former member of the Cathedral of Light who is now combating this new evil power. During the season, enemies will have a chance to spawn as new malignant versions, which will drop malignant hearts upon death. These new items can then be used to summon an even more powerful version of that same enemy, and if you can defeat them, they'll drop new gem-like items that you can socket into your gear to provide powerful buffs and bonuses. You'll also be able to dive into malignant tunnels, which are replayable dungeons that provide an avenue to target farm specific types of these seasonal items. Blizzard also confirmed that seasons, at least for now, will not continue the story told during the base game's main quest. This means that players who aren't interested in engaging with seasonal content won't be missing out on any story beats involving the game's core cast of characters, while those who do engage with seasons will have new, self-contained storylines to explore every 3 months. Another welcome piece of info was that all players, regardless of whether you buy the Battle Pass or not, will have access to the new seasonal content and season journey mechanics. Think seasonal challenges from Destiny 2, as long as you've completed the campaign with at least one character. Finally, something very important to make a note of is that you should log into the game with your existing character who has the most overall progress, map exploration, renown, etc., prior to or right when you start the new season, as this will sync up with all seasonal characters moving forward to ensure you get the best head start possible on content that you've already completed. Despite the hype for Season 1, there has been some controversy around how Seasons and Eternal Realm characters will interact, with those toons being largely unable to engage with seasonal content at all. As a relative Diablo noob, this was pretty disappointing in that I'll be putting my Barbarian on the back burner for the most part until the first expansion hits, and hopefully I'll have a reason to play him again. But the more I've thought on it, I am excited for a reason to try new things in each season. While having to start a new character each time a season rolls around can be a turnoff, it also provides the perfect excuse to try out a different class and/or playstyle every few months, which should keep the game feeling fresh and engaging. As someone who only played a Paladin in D2, this is a good way to get players, or me at least, to try new things and experiment with different classes. I do understand, though, that for many people who might be new to the franchise, this model of essentially starting over with a new character each season might seem counterproductive. That being said, if you are still enjoying the tune you're playing right now, and aren't looking to devote a ton of time to the game past the campaign and open world exploration, this hopefully won't affect your enjoyment of D4 too much. You can continue playing your main, leveling up, and exploring the open world, then set D4 down and branch out into other games until you feel the itch to return. Despite some reservations about leaving my barb behind, I am excited for Season 1 and looking forward to trying out a Necromancer or Sorcerer. I'm not sure how much I'll enjoy the seasonal grind, but I'm still having way too much fun with Diablo 4 to put it down, and I'll continue exploring the open world and grinding the endgame with my first character until Season 1 rolls around. After wrapping up the campaign, I can once again wholeheartedly recommend Diablo 4 for any type of player, hardcore franchise vets and total newbies alike. The main story is compelling and engaging, featuring a range of complex characters, both unsuspecting heroes and complicated villains, a beautifully crafted open world with varied locations containing dozens upon dozens of hours of content to explore, and an addicting gameplay loop and combat system that will pull you in and keep you coming back for more, no matter what class you play or how much you do or do not want to grind the endgame. All in all, Diablo 4 is one of this year's best releases, which is saying something considering the number of absolute bangers we've seen so far, and I fully expect it to be on many Game of the Year lists come December. I know for sure that it will be on mine. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more gaming content, and let me know your thoughts on Diablo 4's campaign, and if you're excited for Season 1 in the comments below. Thanks for watching. You're a real one and I appreciate you. Catch you later, homies.